hold. So the idea, the notion that to be a Christian you have to be a Catholic, you have to observe Catholic laws, the tenets and all that, that is directly contradictory to Christ's message.
Yeah.
And it's directly contradictory to the decisions laid down in the early days of the not Catholic but the Christian Church. I mean, and there are many others, like the notion of the hierarchy of divinity, that the Pope is infallible, and the Pope is the closest to God that any human can be, and that, you know, like the next step down, that like between you and the Pope, like, you know, you got your priests, you got your bishops, you got your cardinals, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And whatever rung on the ladder they occupy, they're that much closer to God than you are. And that's ridiculous. That's Catholic fucking bullshit. So the Catholic Church, I mean, it's like I've told people, if you want to be as ignorant possible, if you want to be as absolutely ignorant as possible about about Catholicism, only Christianity ostensibly, and be as ignorant as possible about the teachings of Christ, become a Catholic. If you want to absolutely have the least amount of knowledge you can possibly have about Catholicism, the history of Catholicism, and the teachings of Christ, become a fucking Catholic. Because you will be guaranteed to be
You're not really
ill-informed and misinformed. Me?
Yeah.
I totally believe in Jesus.
Well, what religion would you say you were?
I was raised Lutheran.
Yeah,
There's no church right now that has a religious or philosophical or intellectual body that matches my own, because they always want to have it. They want to have their little defined limits. They want to, and they want to put things in terms of good and evil. And if it's not within the church's view, then it's either evil or it doesn't exist. You know, and it's like, how do you reconcile evolution and creation? I've done it, but you know. But the church doesn't want to do that. You know, how do you... It's just, you know, I mean, it's like, basically God is not bound by time, but humans think in chronological terms. We have to think in terms of time. So, bearing that in mind, what do you think existed before God?
Rocks.
Alright. So God creates himself, right?
Who creates God?
God creates himself.
How? He's not there.
Himself into existence.
He just decides he's there.
But you don't understand though. There's never a beginning.
Yeah,
never an end.
But to decide something, you have to be
We're putting
existing.
things in chronological terms, which
Because
is
your brain can't.
erroneous, because God does not exist within chronological limits. But we have to deal with chronological limits because that's how we think. So, when you talk about what existed, who created God, nothing created God. God created himself. Alright, so you got nothing. You're starting out with nothingness, which is not exactly true, but for our purposes it's true enough.
Yeah.
Alright, then you got God who creates himself, alright? Then God creates the universe, right? What did he create the universe out of?
Elements.
So, either we're nothing, well, where did these elements come from?
Yeah, how do we know we're not just
He's
like...
bargained them into
My
existence.
belief says God creates the universe of himself.
Yeah.
I think
He used himself as material to create the universe with. That's where my beliefs are.
so. He picked stuff off of himself and put it in places.
Sure.
Yeah. But what do you believe more in? The evolution or...
Creation do the same fucking thing.
I don't believe in evolution.
Only idiots and small-minded Bible thumpers who would shun creation or would shun evolution in favor of creationism. They're idiots. They're people who don't realize that they can both be true.
But I don't understand how, like, if we did evolve from, like, monkeys, how come there's nothing in between us?
There's a fossil record.
Okay, but there's, right now, though, there's nothing in between us.
Yeah.
Humans and chimpanzees share 99%, 98 or 99% of their genetic material.
Yeah, but, like, they can't talk or they can't...
We share like 14%, or no, we share like 70% of ours with birds, don't we?
I don't know. All I remember is the one stat I heard. I forget it was 98 or 99%, but if you were to break down human DNA and chimp DNA, there'd only be a 1 or 2% difference between them.
Which is like voice and all that, or...
My camera's not working.
I don't know. And there are lots of ape fossil records of apes that are higher than chimps. Chimps are the most evolutionarily advanced apes.
So how can you? I don't understand. It says I know. But it says like in the Bible, like God created heaven and earth and man and Adam and all that. Then how can you believe in evolution?
Where does the difference go? You take a look at the order. First he created the universe, the heavens. Then he created the earth. That follows Big Bang and the evolution of planetary bodies. Then he filled the earth with water.
Check that out.
There again, that follows the evolution of planetary bodies. Then he said he created the beast. He didn't say what order he created the beast in. He said he created the beast. And then the last thing he created was man. And that fits rather nicely into the order of evolution.
Yeah, I guess you're. Never thought about it.
I mean, and people think, and they would argue, but this stuff's too elegant and complicated to have simply evolved. And I mean, besides the fact that that's pure idiocy, and these are small-minded people who are spouting this shit. Let's take a look at it from a creationist standpoint. How did God create man? Do you think God reached down with some fucking 100-foot tall God hand and fucking made a little man? I mean, who are these people that they assume that they know what the hand of God looks like? Do you know? Have you seen God's
Looks like what?
Is God's hand tall? Well, then how the hell is he supposed to use 100-foot tall fucking hands to do microscopic work?
Like create bugs.
That's exactly right. The hand of God. I am the hand of God. You are the hand of God.
What about people?
The fucking pen is the hand of God, okay?
Then how can people say like
They're fools.
No, I'm talking about a totally different thing now. Like people say, yeah, well there isn't a God. If there wasn't a God, there wouldn't be so much pain and suffering and blah 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 blah.
It's relative. Suffering is relative. I've known people that had the littlest tiny scrape on their fucking elbow, and they bawled and bawled. They're like, oh me, I'm suffering. I'm the most put upon person on the planet. Ooh, everyone should pity me.
I think like, but if you didn't have like pain and suffering and all that, then you wouldn't have anything to be grateful. You wouldn't be happy.
You know what it really boils down to? God. See, God works in the most blunt and yet the most subtle of ways. Think about this, all right? God created the universe, right? He created it of himself, at least according to my beliefs, right?
Yeah.
That means that everything in the universe is made of
God.
So this is God.
That's God.
Right there.
That fucking that big steamy log I left in the toilet earlier. That's God, all right? It's all God. So since you are God, is there any part of you that's not God?
No.
Then you're God.
So how come people don't worship me?
Because you're Jamie.
Oh, I had a question. I don't remember though.
You're the one who doesn't believe in any of that shit. You and Andy.
Oh, Andy, you win. All right, Andy says.
You gotta get going.
Here's what Andy says, and I gotta make sure my camera sees it. No, I'm just playing. Here's what Andy says. He says the church, like.
No, church and religion are not the same thing.
No, I'm saying like the church that back in the day.
I'm gonna get a turkey.
They believe that the world was flat.
There's still something called the Flat Earth Society. They still exist. Man.
They still think the world's flat.
They still think
they're retarded. But anyway, the church told everybody that the world was flat, and then when scientists came along and whatever philosophers, yeah, and they were like, oh, the world's still flat no matter what you guys proved. So then,
yeah, that's the church. That's not religion. That's not spirituality. That is a power structure that is attempting to maintain its power.
Because what do you call it? God never, Jesus, when he came to earth, he never said, the world is flat. He never said that.
Jesus also never said that premarital sex was a sin.
Who did? The church?
Abortion was a sin. As a matter of fact, there's a story in the Old Testament, King Solomon. Classic story. I'm amazed that so few people know this because it's an awesome story. Amongst as many other little things that he had to settle, there's a case of a prostitute comes before him one day, and this is when Israel is in the middle of a big famine. Everyone's starving, The prostitute comes before him to make a complaint about an agreement that his housemate had broken with her, that her housemate had broken. She had this agreement. They were both prostitutes now. They're both prostitutes living in the same house. And she says that her housemate, the one that broke the agreement, came to her one day and said, "Now remember, famine and they're starving.